Welcome to this IEEE TCLT interview at International Conference on Technology for Education 2015. I am Shitanshu Mishra. I am currently a PhD student at Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. We are pleased to have Dr. Nian Shing Chen here with us today. Dr. Chen is a chair professor at the Department of Information Management at the National Sun Yat-sen University, Taiwan. He has published over 400 papers in the international referred journals, conferences, and book chapters. One of his papers published in Innovation in Education and Teaching International was awarded as the top cited paper of the year 2010. He is the author of three books with one textbook entitled E-Learning Theory and Practice. Professor Chen received the Distinguished Research Awards from the National Science Council, Taiwan in 2008 and 2011-2013. His current research interests include assessing e-learning course performance, online synchronous teaching and learning, mobile and ubiquitous learning, natural user interface, and game-based learning. He has received several international recognitions, including the Vice Chair for International Communications for IEEE's Technical Committee on Learning Technology, TCLT. Dr. Chen, thanks for having accepted our invitation during this privileged time with you. We would like to hear thoughts about revolutionizing current learning environments to smart learning environments. Dr. Chen.
Okay.
You position that there are many challenges to current educational system. So, according to you, what are the major challenges of teachers and schools today?
Yeah. I think the major challenge for the teachers is the prior knowledge of students. The gap between students in one class is getting bigger and bigger. Okay. The reason for that is because now the internet has provided a lot of learning resources. Not to mention now, if you are interested, you can find any material, in high quality, because there are many open educational resources, or even like MIT OpenCoursera, or now the new coming, a lot of MOOC courses, right? So if you are interested in certain subject, I think as a learner, you can always find the material which you are interested in. So you will be more self-motivated to learn what you are interested. And this creates a phenomenon which has never been in education, because traditional schooling is more like because it's a industrial model, it's a mass production. We cannot classify students into age, and then we go from grade 1 to grade 2. If you are a teacher, then you have students in one class. Basically, you can assume most of the students, their prior knowledge are almost the same or similar. So it's under this condition, then it's much easier as a teacher, to design your own course, to adjust, the difficulty level to kind of satisfy the majority of students. But look at now, because the students nowadays, they can spend a lot of time, what we call informal learning. Informal learning basically is driven by self-directed learning, by self-interest, right? So day after day, what I have observed is the students spend in informal learning is getting more and more, but we only have 24 hours a day, right? So the implication would be the more students spend on informal learning, then the more students will acquire knowledge in their interested domain. and then this creates the bigger gap, among students. So this is the big challenge to the teachers. So nowadays, I would say, as a teachers, even you have the same, passion about your own teaching, and you do exactly the same, which 10 years ago you might satisfy 90% of students, and you do exactly the same way, but today maybe you can only satisfy 60% of students. Nothing wrong with you, but it's just the students' power knowledge is getting bigger and bigger in the gap.
So, in one line, can I say that predicting the student models is very difficult these days? You are saying,
No,
so
no,
we
this,
can't guess what is the prior knowledge of my class. Previously, in traditional, in previous times, could have
no,
estimated,
yeah,
but
yeah.
now we can't.
In the old days, you don't need to do that because it's a batch processing. It's a mass production. So so you just assume, and it's the case. But nowadays, it's not the case. And then, so let me finish the challenge to the teachers is this big gap of among students of this prior knowledge. Okay, and then the the implication to the school, to the formal educational system, is the importance of, or the value of the formal educational system is diminishing, right? Because the value the service you provide to the students only spend less and less time in formal learning system, right? So all the traditional schooling, all the traditional educational institution, actually, we are all facing this, critical challenge because our value, if because students is our customer, right? And then the students spend less and less time, in formal learning. So that means the importance of formal educational system is diminishing. Yeah. So to the teacher and to the school, I think this is uh, the challenge we cannot avoid, and it's getting worse day after day.
So you talked about self-directed learning, and in your article you talked about self-directed schooling. So can you elaborate some more on it?
Yeah, because I kind of sick of our traditional schooling. Say you have to start from kindergarten, and then 6 years for primary school, and then another 6 years for secondary, junior high and senior high. And then you may need to spend 4 years, for university, and then maybe 2 year master, 4 year PhD. It's so strict, right? So I project in the future, because nowadays we talk about, student centric, and then students, should be the active learner, right? And then students can be self-regulated learner. Students can do self-directed learning. But the implication, actually, the big picture would be, at the end, actually, is self-directed schooling. Okay? Why is that? Because if I decided, I want to master this degree, okay, and then I can, from the internet, I can find the optimum pace for me. From now, maybe I can choose different courses from different places, from different institutions, because more and more institutions will provide online courses, right? So so this is more like self-paced, because like in the free classroom, the teacher will kind of provide more flexibility for students. So students can have more authority to control their own progress. So based on this concept, self-directed schooling, what I mean is you master this profession or this degree, maybe you only need 5 years. But another student, another learner, he might say, no, I'm not in rush. Okay, in the meantime, I want to do something else. So I want to spend 10 years. It's not possible in our traditional schooling, but it's possible in the future, right? And so each individual can then have their own self-directed schooling, because the educational system will be re-engineered to provide all this kind of flexibility.
Right. So this variable time and fixed learning is really uh, very encouraging idea.
Yeah.
Okay, but in self-directed learning mode, if I'm a student, how would I ensure that I'm going to correct appropriate resources?
Yeah.
How would I know that which resource is suitable for me?
Yeah. So when I say self-directed schooling, I'm, the implication is not you really, throughout the whole learning process, you learn alone, okay? Because if they are, say, many students, they all adopt this kind of concept. And it's not just a concept, maybe in the future, because the private sector, they will also set up a lot of cyber school or digital school, or, private sector provide educational services more and more. So which means, a lot of students actually all doing the same self-directed schooling. So then we would have enough number of critical mass of this type of students. Educational service provider, they will design, many kind of learning system which is support collaborative learning, which is support scaffolding, which is support individual facilitation, So all this kind of research we have been done in the last 20, 30 years of educational technology will be really implemented, in real system. And then the educational service provider, not just the public sector, but the private sector, I think because education become a global market, so the private sector can see, the potential. So they will be the major player. So the question you ask, actually, I would say educational service provider, they also very concerned about all these issues. So they will provide better service. Yeah.
So, in your article, you talked about educational robots. So, how are the educational robots more effective than the traditional learning aids, such as a student is aided by his peers, by his family members? So, how are the educational robots? They can replace uh, these
Okay.
factors.
I think educational robot is the future. It's like, we once say, personal computer, right? Every single one has a personal computer. And it's already, happened. We all know. And now we say everyone should have a smartphone. Yeah, it did. Everyone has a smartphone, right? So I project in the future, everyone should have an educational robot. When a child Since a child was born, the parent will buy educational robot as a learning companion. So the robot, educational robot actually grow with the kids, since the childhood, okay? And then the robot can play many roles, okay? At home, the robot play as a peer. This is very important because in China, they have this one-child policy. So at home, you don't have peer, you don't have brother and sister. So robot can then play as a, learning peer, right? And then you go to school, right? And then from the pocket, you can take out your personal robot, educational robot, right? And then the teacher will incorporate educational robot in their learning activity, okay? So it's like, of course, we don't want the future generation to just, learn with machine. But what we project is, robot can provide a lot of services which, the teachers might be limited. Say at home, it's not accessible to teacher. And then in the school, in the classroom, sometimes, even you assign 3 students to do a teamwork. How about we add one educational robot as a team member? Okay, and then this robot, because it's connected to the cloud, so all the pedagogic actually can be enforced by this educational robot. So there are many potential of educational robot can help in the future. And I would say, because the ultimate goal is personalized, adaptive learning. But we just don't have that kind of capacity of teachers to be able to provide, say, simple thing, one-to-one tutoring. But how about the robot? All the teachers' expertise and knowledge and skills, can be hard-coded, on the cloud. And then the robot can be a proxy or agent. It behaves like a very experienced, capable of teachers.
Another thing in your article, it was about lifelong profiling. So please elaborate more on this. How do you think would it be useful in future?
Yeah, I would say because now even we have a very long pace of learning from primary, secondary, college, but our learning portfolio actually is not accumulated, right? So, but the more we use technology, then the more we can track all the learning process, right? And then all this kind of log data can be accumulated in single place. So the reason why this is important, because the goal is to provide individualized adaptive learning. So the more the system understand each individual's learning profile, by using the learning analytics, right? Because if the system fully understands what exactly is this individual learner, then of course at the back end we can come up with the best material, strategy, pedagogy, content. Yeah. So lifelong profiling or lifelong learning portfolio is the key, to realize this ultimate goal of adaptive learning for every single individual. Yeah.
In lifelong learning, the system would be tracing each and every most of the activities that one student does, and would it not be a threat to individual privacy?
Yeah, privacy is always an issue.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not worried about privacy issue because it's I can use two examples. One is, the bank, at the beginning, money is the most treasure stuff, right? And then in the old days, our, grandmother, grandfather, they put money, inside, under the ground, right? But now everybody put money in the bank. Why? Because there's a trusted system which already, mature and people trust it. Then for this educational service provider, if they want to track, lifelong portfolio, then they must have some mechanism, to earn the trust to say, okay, they don't invade too much of the privacy issue. Okay, and another example is like now social media. Okay, say for example, before the telephone system, taping is very easy, because there is a central point. But now for this, like Skype or Line, it's point to point. So point to point, we can use encryption. Okay, so the technology is there. It's just, it's the benefits or the commercial profit is not ready for those, service providers to put effort to provide that kind of service, but it will come.
You talked about team teaching. So it was an interesting concept about teachers in SLE. That, so what is team teaching? Can you elaborate something more?
Yeah, I have been dreaming, to do team teaching for many years, and now I can see like in free classroom, okay, because the teacher has to record the lecture, right? And then I realized, in flip, actually not every teacher has to do this. If you are teaching fundamental course, then only one teacher need to do this, video lecture recording. It can be shared, like Khan Academy, right? He already recorded, 4,000 something, video clips, right? And then because it's a basic knowledge, see. So this is one way of showing the benefits of team teaching. In free, just a few teachers need to do the video lecture recording, right? And then I just adapt. So it seems like, I'm doing team teaching with that particular teacher who kind of saved me time, so I don't need to lecture myself. Okay, this is one more. So team teaching could be in many different forms. Another, like, if we also re-engineering our course structure and also re-engineering the process of how a course being taught, then we can divide a course into many different tasks, and then each task will be carried by one specific teachers, and we can all collaborate together. So team teaching is very difficult to implement in the physical classroom, but would be much easier to implement in smart learning environment by using the technology.
So team teaching, there are many concepts of team teaching. They can be adapted in traditional classrooms today also, in current time also. So what is specific to smart learning environments?
No, in the traditional classroom, it would be very difficult. Say, you and me, we go to the same classroom. How are we going to collaborate? We have to design beforehand. We have to discuss, say, okay, this is the label of division. You take care of this part, I will take care of this part. So a lot of coordination. In the physical classroom, it's like, this, it has to be kind of take turns, or, we divide students into two groups. You take care of half, I take care of another half. Then this is not the way we want to see 1 plus 1, will, get the benefits more than 2, right? So, but with the help of technology, then I see much easier, more flexibility, for a group of teachers teaching the same subject to collaborate. So team teaching, I think, in the future will be more feasible.
You talked about flipped classroom, and you mentioned one statement. Flipped classroom allow teachers to deliver the course content in a more interactive and efficient manner. So, how does flipped classroom allows more interactive? Because intuitively it appears that if uh, in the traditional classroom, teacher is allowed to interact with the students more, and if student is going back to their hostel and they are just watching videos, then how is the interactivity increasing?
Yeah, of course, because in the traditional mode of teaching, even we say in the physical classroom, it's face to face. It's much easier to do two-way interaction. But in reality, most of the teacher in the physical classroom just do one-way lecturing. And then if you ask the students, do you have any question? Then most of the cases, the students, they don't have any questions. Okay? So now we say free means, one-way lecturing. Okay? Students can listen in their own time. So when all students comes to the physical classroom, the teachers, they don't do lecture at all. So we save a lot of time. So the second challenge to the teachers to apply physical classroom actually is to design, learning interactive activity, which can be conducted in the physical classroom. So this is to answer your question, this is the reason why it increased the interactivity, because the one-way lecturing is already eliminated, right? And so the more time in the classroom, I can do Q&A, I can do, students divide into different groups, they work together, Before you don't have that many, that much enough time to do this, but now you can do if you adopt the free classroom concept.
You said that smart learning environments would focus on competency based assessments. So, if I'm an employer, how would I ensure the consistency of competencies among students if I know that my students of, who are coming from smart learning environments, they are from varied backgrounds, they are from varied, maybe they have exposure to varied learning environments. So, how would I ensure that this competency sets of my prospective employees are consistent?
Yeah, this is, I can use a very simple example like, the language competence. Like, if you want to do a study abroad, you need to, pass, you need, your language proficiency need to reach certain level, right? So there is standards there, right? Like, you have to pass, certain score of TOEIC or TOEFL, right? So the idea behind this actually is the separation of learning and assessment. Okay, so I project in the future, assessment will be separated from teaching and learning. Okay, but because now if you are a teacher, you actually in charge of all this. You design the course, you conduct the course, you facilitate the students to do learning, and then you do assessment. You design the exam sheets, right? But all this kind of traditional mode of teaching, will be re-engineered. So everything will be decomposed. Okay, and then this is like a outsourcing concept. So to provide the best quality of service, you know, each stakeholder just focus on one service. Okay, so assessment will be separated, not just language, but each competence skill will be separated. So, so the question you ask, or you worry, there's a standards there.
So, Dr. Chen, thank you for your valuable comments and your coming here. And we are grateful to Professor Chen. And with this, we are ending this interview.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Chen.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, thank you.